Do you like true crime stories? What about mysterious stories? Paranormal stories? Supernatural? Well, if you do, you're in the right place. Welcome to Mystery Files, or if you've been here before, welcome back. So, if you have not been here before, please hit that subscribe button and make sure to like this video. We're trying to get this up to 70 likes, and if you do, I will give you a bonus episode throughout the week. But on a quick, serious note, we lost a loved one in our community. The Midnight Mafia is now down one awesome soul. And his name was Louis Aldo. And his daughter Chloe and his wife Dilly, a bunch of others that were affected by this. But if we could all just take a minute and say a prayer for their family. His name was Louis Aldo and he lived in the UK. It would truly mean a lot. He was the first fan I ever talked to on the phone. And just getting to know him, he was such an interesting guy. So if, in your spare time, if you could just say a prayer for him, or if you want to say it right now, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Alright, Louis, you're gonna be missed, buddy, and this one's for you. UFO crazy stuff. I know you would have liked it. Alright, also do not forget to check out the new merch that's in the merch store. I keep making new designs, so I hope you guys check that out. And also, please join me on Patreon. We have a member now. Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we will build it up soon to the point where we can do live chats. And I'm going to get you guys out extra videos depending on what tier you choose. But that's enough. Without any further ado, as of now, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. Okay, to preface this, the Nullarbor Plain is located on the Great Australian Bight in Western and South Australia. Now, the Nullarbor is a very flat and treeless area occupying a vast area of about 200,000 square kilometers. Now, the name actually comes from the Latin nullus arbor, which means no trees. And the local indigenous population also have a bleak name for the place as well, called Oandiri, which translates to waterless. And running through the Nullarbor Plain is the Eyre Highway, Eyre Highway, E-Y-R-E, I don't know how to say it. But this connects Western Australia to Southern Australia, and it is a long, remote road and the straightest in Australia. Now, from Norseman in Western Australia to Seduna in South Australia, a total distance of 1,664 kilometers, also known as 1,034 miles, the Eyre Highway is the only route that's available. And the Nullarbor has always been regarded as this mysterious and strange to those who have experienced the vast emptiness. And in 1988, it was the setting of one of Australia's most terrifying UFO encounters. So in January 1988, Faye Knowles relocated with her children from Adelaide to Perth, seeking new work and a fresh start in a different city. Now, her three adult sons, Patrick, age 24, Wayne, age 21, and Sean, who was only 18, decided to actually move in with her for her better job opportunities. So, along with their two pet little dogs in the car, they packed up and prepared to move. And they decided when they were going to travel that they would do it by car. And that meant it was going to be a lengthy trip ahead of them because the destination was over 2,700 kilometers through one of Australia's most isolated areas, including the Nullarbor Plain. However, the family wasn't worried, and while the trip would certainly be long and would take a few days, they were not worried at all because Faye had recently purchased a second-hand Ford Telstar that was in good working order, and they could all be, sharing the driving schedule as they went along. And the family was actually excited about their trip, considering, it a new adventure and a new chapter in their lives. Now, the Knowles family were 14 hours already into their vast trip when the first encounter of the UFO appeared at about 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, Sean was driving and they were about 40 kilometers west of Mondrabila, I hope I said that right, which is near the West Australian border. Then all of a sudden, they saw this bright light that was just floating ahead of them right in the distance. And as they got closer with their car, they saw the bright light and it was swiftly moving towards the vehicle as well. They said it was about a meter wide, glowing bright and white with a yellow center. And the light was like an egg in a teacup. And then it disappeared after jumping around a bit. The light, though, became more aggressive and then moved and began hovering threateningly above the family sedan. And at this point, they were distracted and panicked by the blinding bright light that was directly above them. In fact, Sean actually had to swerve quickly after drifting into the next lane to avoid a collision on an upcoming passing vehicle. Now, after this dangerous close call, the light actually turned its attention to the other car that they nearly just hit, leaving the Knowleses alone. The strange light chased after the other car. And at this moment, the family were logically trying to explain what just happened to themselves. They had reason it must have been, just a trick of the light from the upcoming car. However, only a short time later, their unexpected traveling buddy would return. And this time there would be no passing traffic on this lonely, desolate road to distract it from the Knowles family car. So once the light soon returned above the car, in fact, directly above the car, but this time they heard this heavy kind of clunking noise. And it was as if something had landed on the roof, and the Knowles at that time believed it to be an alien spacecraft, and maybe now there's an alien actually on their roof. And unfortunately, the family had problems recalling the next sequence of events after the craft landed on their roof, making it uncontrollable and very heavy. In fact, Faye remembers actually winding down her window and touching her hand on the car's roof. And she recalls touching something that was warm, rubbery, and spongy before immediately retracting her hand, which now felt hot and covered in this black dust. And from Faye's own words, she said, "I wound down the window and I felt this thing on the roof. All this smoke stuff started coming into the car and the car was covered in black stuff." That's an exact quote. Now, because this gray, black, foul-smelling mist invaded their car through the open window, the family then heard a peculiar, high-pitched noise that agitated the dogs. And we all know dogs kind of have this sixth sense, whether it's paranormal or whether it's about ghostly adventures. It seems like dogs can pick up a lot more than humans. And it was at that moment that the complete family suffered from the same disorientation. Now, try to really open up your mind and envision this. They claimed that their
voices lowered in pitch and slowed down,
with everyone sounding very far away, even though they were only meters away from each other. In a blind panic at this point, Sean hit on the gas and he hit it hard, and he accelerated the car to around speeds of over 110 miles per hour. But the Ford automobile was in fact no match for this strange outer-worldly craft. And soon the family was horrified to feel the car wheels leaving the road as they were lifted into the air. And then suddenly the next sensation that the Knowleses felt was the wheels making contact back with the asphalt. And there was a hard thud, followed by the sound of one of their sedan's tires bursting from the sharp impact. And at that very moment, the light disappeared, and the family was alone in the dark, and they were terrified. Now, they fled from the vehicle and decided to hide behind these low brushes off to the side of the road nearby. And in fact, it turned out that this actually was the right move, because shortly after, the light returned and briefly hovered over the now abandoned car. But at the same time, the Knowles found it practically strange that the craft seemed unable to find them outside of the vehicle and then disappeared. So at this point, they're all huddled together in the brush and they're worried and they're just thinking that this light is gonna come back again. But after waiting a little longer to ensure that they were all alone on the road, the family quickly changed their flat tire in record time, and the family then drove to the closest town called Sedona and pulled right into the town's police station, where they reported this encounter straight to the police. And you wouldn't believe it, because the news story broke the very next day. And the media coverage was extreme. UFO attacks family led the morning news and appeared in newspapers countrywide. The nation, in fact, was hooked on this story. I mean, after all, it had all the elements of an awesome horror movie. First, you got the isolated remote location. Then, there was also the terror of an actual physical encounter. But the worst and most exciting aspect was indeed the physical evidence. Yes, the police inspected the car after interviewing the Knowles' family, and they discovered damage to the vehicle's exterior, including dents on the roof, and this ash coating inside and outside of the vehicle. Now, the ash coating was later tested and determined to just be dirt from the plane, meaning that the car was just extremely dusty. But anyone who has driven through extreme dry and dusty areas can expect their car to become coated in this material. However, it was strange that the dust was also found inside the car, as even if the wind was blowing into the car via the open windows, it would be unlikely that the occupiers of the car would allow this amount to come in. I mean, why would they simply just not close the window? But the police also took their report very, very seriously, and the family did not appear to be making up such a strange story. Actually, on the contrary, the family seemed fearful for their lives and very sincere about what they were saying. So the police decided that the Knowles believed what they had saw, and that ruled out the possibility of a hoax. Also lending credibility to their story, the Knowleses were also just some of the people to report the sighting that night, because the drivers of another car and a truck also claimed to have spotted the strange light on the highway. However, they did not get a close look of it or experience anything similar to the Knowles' family. But interestingly, that same night, some tuna fishermen were out about 50 kilometers at sea in the Great Australian Bight, and they claimed they were also buzzed by a bright light in the night sky and suffered from this similar voice distortion as the Knowles family. However, this encounter at sea appeared to be less aggressive. However, while certainly alarming them, they did not report the feelings of fear that the Knowles' family did. In fact, the fishermen who reported the encounter had no way of knowing about the attack on the Knowles' family, which occurred half an hour before that. So with all of this happening, the Royal Australian Air Force at Edinburgh, South Australia, was contacted and adamant that no aircraft in that region at that time was there to account for those sightings. And the Knowleses over the following weeks were interviewed by national media, and the interviews can be viewed all over the internet if you want to go and watch them now. In the end, the general public was divided between a logical explanation and, of course, the paranormal. However, most agreed that the family was truthful and generally appeared to believe that they experienced a devastating UFO encounter. But sometimes when you hear a story, it doesn't matter what he said or what they think, it matters what you think. So I want you to tell me right now in the comments, what exactly do you think happened? And if you want, like I said, go watch all the things surrounding it. That's all I got for you guys today. Remember to join Patreon. Let's get this up to 70 likes, and I love y'all. All right, peace.